Working through 1 second of technical difficulties. I apologize. Okay, we'd like to welcome you to the school board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us on our noon meeting this Monday afternoon. We appreciate that you all could be here. Do we have any needs for translation? Okay, seeing that we don't, we will go ahead and continue on with our meeting. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I'm sorry, I can't get my agenda to pull up. Okay, we will go ahead and move on to our student reps. Do you guys have anything you would like to add?
We do have some questions, but can we move our section to when DOHS is finished, actually?
Sure, we can do that. So we'll move on to board member discussions. Starting with Director Gerber, do you have anything for our legislative report?
Yep, just a few updates. The legislative session is in full swing now. I just wanted to give an update on some of the bills that they're considering this week. There's a lot of them. WASDA kind of keeps a list of all the ones that may affect schools, and I've just kind of highlighted a few that are notable for things that we've talked about, things at our school. These are just being presented, so they're presented and approved, then they have to go be presented and approved again. So just because we have it here doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. It's in the very early stages, but there's a bill kind of supporting remote testing options for students enrolled in online school programs. There's a bill to make financial education instruction a graduation requirement. There's bills to better supports for students who are chronically absent. This one I've heard a lot about actually around the Creating Housing Assistance Program for youth enrolled in extended foster care. There's been some concerns that once foster kids age out of the system that they're kind of dropped. And so that's one of the things that they're working on. There's a bill for establishing a statewide network for student mental health and behavioral health helps. There's bills about updating emergency response systems in public schools. As we talked about last time with the big three that they're working on, it seems to be making a difference in the legislature, which is good. There's 3 executive sessions right in a row about transportation, MSOC, and special education funding. So it's exciting to see those. So those are just some of the things that WASDA has been keeping an eye on, some of the bills that are being talked about this week over in the Capitol.
Great, thank you. Up next, we have a Ludocaga site visit on February 3rd. Everyone can put that on their calendars. And is there anything anyone wanted to add to board member discussion?
For me, I want to give a shout out to the OSD, the whole staff at the high school, maintenance, everybody. We had a humongous wrestling tournament this weekend. It was over Friday and Saturday. There was 59 teams, 478 students, 6 mats. Shout out to Warden, they let us borrow some of their wrestling mats. It was an all-out crazy weekend at the high school, and everything went off without a hitch. Maintenance came over for a few issues with the restroom. CAT staff was on site. It was just a great tournament. A lot of folks came in. Everybody was really happy. Just shout out to that whole program from where it was to where it is now. Really nice to see.
In addition to that, shout out to Mike Don, our athletic director. He coordinated a lot of that. He was there the whole weekend and did a lot of work. I stopped in just for a second to see. It was a ton of people, but Director Pernetta was there the whole weekend cooking for people and manning the hospitality room. So, yeah, it went really well from what I've heard.
Is there also a wrestling match tonight?
Oh, yes. There is a big one this afternoon
Okay.
against Toppenish. So if you guys have time, come out. It'll be probably the two best schools in the state going at it tonight. So
What time?
I think JV starts at 5, and I think varsity starts at 6:30.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to C1, required approvals. At this time, I'll accept a motion to approve required approvals.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We will move on to superintendent informational items.
Yeah, so this evening, I'm used to that. This afternoon, we're going to hear from a team of folks that have been working on the integration of Othello High School and Desert Oasis. And so Josh Tovar, Principal Kat Atchison from Othello High School, and Assistant Superintendent Jessica Schenk, they're going to come forward and be the bulk of the presentation. I do want to go back to, and for Miles and the student reps, as we go through here, and certainly for the board members, this set of slides are really in chunks about where we're at, some things that we're excited about at the high school and where we're going. At any time, at any moment, raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you and ask your question there, wherever you think it might fit, okay? So I was just going to jump into the sort of story of this process and where we're headed. And this is an image and an article that we used several months ago now with the administrators talking about motion. There on the left is talking about stuff. So MSOC right now and the big three, they're just really talking. Until they vote and take action and get something done, then we'll understand how school funding is going to go. So that's maybe a little bit of a concept of how to think about this imagery. And Principal Atchison used this with her staff to talk about, we've been talking a lot about transition at Othello High School, standards-based grading, creating good opportunities, rigorous opportunities for every kid in Othello. How can we use that energy and get a really good outcome for our Desert Oasis counterparts? And so we're here to talk to you about how that's going. Certainly been a significant project, a focus for our team throughout the school year, and we're excited to share some really exciting updates. But we want to let you know how we've been working at this. A couple key points here. One is, what's the purpose of this work? And really we're trying to create systems and resources. We hear a lot about the systems and resources for the students at DOHS. Small school setting, the scale that you can handle and manage. How can we take some of those systems and resources and make sure that every student and every staff member feels part of that sense of team at Othello High School, where you have 1,400 students and a lot more adults? And so our job is to make sure, and your job as a board, that they have the resources that they need, they have the training they need, and they're prepared to make sure every kid's successful. Now, how we talk about this work is really important. I think there could be a sense here, especially if you're at Desert Oasis, that, well, they're getting rid of my school, they're closing it down. And I get that sense of loss. But we've been trying to be really careful about how we're speaking about that project, that we're optimistic about some of the things we've learned at DOHS and bringing those to the high school, and that we're excited about those students coming back to that campus. And so you're going to hear us talk in that way. We've had some really, really interesting conversations with families, with students, and with staff about where we should take this project. And I'm really proud of the team and where we're at right now. And I hope you have some questions for them and some commendations when you hear about the work that's been going on and what's coming next. So I'll turn it over to them.
Okay, good afternoon. Is this on? Yes. Before Kat and Josh talk about some of the specifics, I'd like to spend a moment talking about the foundation that we laid before we started making decisions. We wanted to make sure that as we do this work, we're not just going in and thinking we know what's needed, but making sure that we really do know what's needed based off of what we've heard from the people that it affects most. So Dr. Meek and I, back in November, we met with 11 different focus groups. These were hour-long conversations with students from both schools, with parents from Desert Oasis, teachers from both schools, administrators. We had a community focus group. We really spent a lot of time asking them, what do you think is needed with this transition? And so the words that you see on the screen right there, we recorded all of those conversations, and then we went through a process where we looked for some of the most important words that people were telling us. And so this is a word cloud that shows some of that, and you can see that support was one of the big ones there, that both the Desert Oasis people need to be supported and the Othello High School folks need to be supported as well. From those words, we also looked at some of the key ideas that people were telling us. And so this is a very short list of many different ideas that we heard. The students there were really emphasized the importance of having teachers who genuinely care about them. Almost all groups talked about the need for personalized connections. They also talked about problems, like when there's inconsistent discipline, that can lead to bigger issues that, especially when you're bringing two groups together, everybody needs to be on the same page. I really liked the idea of balancing accountability with compassion. We need to be firm, but we also need to be kind in all of these decisions and interactions that we go forward with. So the principals, we had some people from from the district office, Dr. Perez and myself. We spent a lot of time talking about what we heard, and we came up with 4 main planning themes. So as we move forward, these 4 things are going to be what we keep in mind, and it's the filter that we make decisions through. Are we on the right track? So we have the culture of caring and respect, systems of support, effective communication, and technical structures. And so those are what we'll be using as we move forward. And we're able to share with you some of our initial planning ideas today. We shared them with DOHS students and parents last week. Kat shared some of these with her staff this morning. And so I'll turn it over to her as she gets into some of the details about where we're headed.
So some initial decisions that will for sure be happening for next year with the integration of DOHS with OHS is that DOHS students have made it pretty clear they're really concerned about credits as well as their parents